Man, Evil West is a heck of a thing. I'm really excited to talk about it just because it's different. And it's so different in the fact that it is just so whatever in terms of what games were or what was constantly being pumped out in like the PS3 360 era. Just a simple, straightforward, unabashed video game with all its flaws. And honestly, that's why, like, if you saw my before you buy video, I've been playing the review copy of it. I am like kind of forgiving of it just because it's fresh, and it's fresh in a way where it was just kind of like if you would run out and pick up Dead Space or pick up Dante's Inferno or like whatever random thing came out that month, just like a quick adventure. You'd play through it, you'd love it, you'd trade it in. Evil West feels like that. And I feel like it's a tough sell for some people for obvious and valid reasons in terms of like, you know, it's not a full price game, but it's a close to full price game. But it's like 10 hours, 9 hours or so. And also, if you're picky, it's really, really flawed. And if you're not used to these types of games, maybe you're more of a modern gamer, you might actually find some of this kind of boring. But for me, it kind of felt like just video game junk food, just like comfort food stuff. Like some of it, I played a little bit on autopilot, I'm not gonna lie, in terms of just really simple level design. But I really, really liked kind of getting through this combat and having this combat build and build and build and kill vampires and weird, gross monsters and stuff. The game does a really good job at just embracing the stupidity. My ultimate elevator pitch for it, how I've been telling my friends, it's essentially like, what if God of War 2018, like combat style, had a baby with the Order 1886, but that baby was like goofy and dumb. And I mean that with absolute respect. It's like, you guys know I love the Order 1886. I'm like a ride or die for that weird flawed game. But this is kind of like if they didn't take it seriously, where this time, instead of like 1886 London, here it is the wild, wild west, but it is ridden with vampires. And there's essentially this like government institute that is tasked with using like steampunk kind of like Tesla coil electricity style technology to take on the vampire hordes. And it seems like they're winning in this game. It's actually like the vampires are kind of clawing back and coming up with new machinations to come back and take over the world or something. But I just love the concept. I'm not gonna lie. As soon as I saw the game announced, I was like, yes, okay, that. Totally. Just God of War 2018 style gameplay, close over the shoulder combat where you punch enemies, you hit them up in the air, and then they stay up in the air for an unexplainably long period of time as you combo them. But also just this weird, absurd kind of like Hugh Jackman Van Helsing. Yes, I mentioned that in the before you buy, but also Wild Wild West, which is a very bad movie that people will tell you that it's bad, but I will tell you that it's actually good. Jim West, Desperado, Rough Rider, You Don't Want Nada. Yep, I love the shit out of that movie. I love the shit out of Will Smith, and this game definitely gives me that type of vibe. That marriage of the Wild West, but with like comic book, goofy, cartoony action and science and just stuff that doesn't make sense. And here, the story isn't necessarily like the most compelling thing, and a lot of the times it just kind of drops you in locations with not a ton of explanation or real build up to it, but it has a lot of variety. You're always in new places. The characters, really the supporting characters, are pretty good. Jesse, I was a little let down by him as the main character. He's just kind of like, yeah, all right. But just like regular guy. I actually wish they went harder on him and made him even more just scenery chewing gunslinger. Like if they almost made him kind of like the stranger from Oddworld Stranger's Wrath, just like that real grizzled guy. I think that would have been cool. But for what it is, he's kind of just like a regular, like tough guy, but in like a really insane costume. And he's a big chunky lad, but he fights really well. The combat is the best part of this game. It's all about, comboing, building things up, juggling dudes with this electricity gauntlet that you have that also serves as a push-pull mechanic and a parry. You have the dodge roll type thing, similar to God of War 2018, but you also have guns and shit. You have a revolver that at any point you can just start firing. Mid-combo, just start firing. You can fire off individual shots. You can hold it to really lay it on enemies, and you can do it while enemies are in the air. You probably saw that in the initial reveal trailer. That was the thing I saw that went, okay, I'm in. and it is as cool as you would think to like pull it off in the game. You have these like little bars of electricity, like this meter that you can spend on like ultimate abilities that you'll unlock throughout with a pretty good skill tree. I'm a fan of just like a good, well-rounded skill tree, and it trickles out, but it's good. Like everything on there I think is meaningful and kind of stacks a little bit onto the base combat. And along with that, the game is just constantly giving you shit. Like pretty close to the end, it is constantly stacking new things on you, new abilities, new ways to take on enemies. And it's almost like you're kind of like, oh my God, I have so much shit. Like in a good way. And you're fighting a lot of cool stuff. You're fighting a lot of vampires. I actually wish there were more vampires, but you're fighting like werewolves. You're fighting regular men, which is always cool because you feel like a badass when you like explode them into blood. But there's some good bosses. There's some heavies that are a little repetitious, but also these like zombie-like enemies that have like blood-sucking giant leeches attached to them, which I just gotta say from like a creative standpoint is very cool. Very nasty and gross and icky, but also over the top, and it works really, really well. I love seeing all these weird things. There's like different variations of these slug leech guys, and it totally works. And the game really leans on all that, the gore, the nastiness, the spookiness of some environments. And I like that the game has enough variety where like you're walking around as a desperado in a brightly lit desert town, but also following footsteps and slowly going through like a creepy haunted Halloween forest. It's just kind of straightforward, and it can get a little dull in terms of like environment design. You walk, you turn left, you find a treasure chest. Oh, cool, money to upgrade my weapons or a skin. And then you just kind of go back on your path and you keep going and find an arena filled with enemies. You kill them all, you hear a little sound, it means you can move on, rinse, repeat. I was kind of hoping that they would have a little bit more, like kind of take what we've learned in this new generation of games and mix it with the PS3 360 era and kind of expand upon that. But they didn't really come up with a lot of other good things for Jesse to do. Granted, it's a smaller studio. I understand they were working with a budget, so it can't be the most complex game. I'm not looking for like, RPG levels of stuff to do because, to be honest, I don't want that. I like this game because there aren't any side quests. There's not like filler. It's just a game-ass game that you play through and you beat it and you go, cool, done. But like the whole time I was enjoying myself. It was like a blanket almost, not to sound corny, but like a sense of familiarity. Just like a regular old traditional video game that didn't feel like this extended grind or like this blown out thing, or even like a cynically designed thing that it was like, oh, it has to have this, it has to have this, and it has to have... No, it's just this flawed game that like repeats some enemies towards the end. It's got some boring environments, but some kick-ass combos and some really creative ideas. I actually like bought into some of the world building stuff. The Institute is really, really cool, like where all these like vampire hunter cowboys hang out. Some of the tech is really cool to see. The visual effects are pretty good. Like the graphics I thought were actually pretty decent. And I like the visual design of all these monsters and like reading about this world and the collectibles and like some of the Civil War vets that did this and how this Vampire Institute and how this world intersected with history. And you'll find a picture of like a guy shaking hands with Abraham Lincoln that wasn't real. Like it's very cool. It's very, like I said, Order 1886-ish, but like what if it just went crazy and dumb? And sometimes that's what I really want from video games. This game does not take itself seriously at all, and sometimes it's refreshing. Like I've been saying though, it's kind of short and it's a one and done thing. And I think now if you're a modern gamer or if you're someone on a budget, you might not want to run out and get it immediately. And if you're maybe 16 and you just want to play Warzone, man, and that's it, you probably want nothing to do with this game. You may have skipped some of or a lot of the 360 PS3 era. I don't know who you are, but in terms of me, you know where I'm coming from, and I was into this. Again, it's definitely not going to be for everybody. Some people are going to find it dull. It's also kind of glitchy here and there. But hey, I think it's a solid, pretty okay game. So if you are like me, I would say at the very least, put it on your list to play at some point because I love these types of games. These types of games aren't extinct, but we don't get as many of them as we used to, where it was just a steady trickle of fun, straightforward adventure games that were fucked up or great or somewhere in between. And Evil West is that. And I'm celebrating it for that at the very least. And like totally aware, self-aware, it is rose-colored glass. Like I am giving it extra points for, I guess, nostalgia. Maybe not nostalgia, but like familiarity or like a just like I said from the start, a breath of fresh air for it being a thing from a previous gaming generation. It was like a meal. It was like a meal from a place where I go, I order, I know what I'm gonna get, and I'm like, hell yeah, I'm gonna eat the shit out of this. Does that make sense? There's really not too much more I can say about this game. Hopefully you got to see from the gameplay here what it's all about. Pretty straightforward stuff, but Evil West was one that I did want to run and talk about because I like that era of games, and I like what this is kind of representing, and I'd love to see more of it. I would like to see an Evil West 2. I think there is some creativity to this world. I think there's a lot more that they could do. I think there's a lot more that they could figure out and expand upon, and I dig it enough, like I said, that I want to see more. But that's Evil West. I definitely want to know what you guys are thinking about this. Were you like me when you saw this announced at like a thing maybe a year or so ago? You saw a trailer, you were like, oh, hell yeah. Are you a freak like me that also likes Wild Wild West? Did you get the glasses from Burger King, those cool sunglasses, and think you were a cool cowboy man like Jim West, Desperado? Let me know if you're broken like me. Let's talk about anything in the comments. I definitely want to hear from you guys. You guys have some of the best shit in those comments, so thank you. Thank you for being here, whoever you are, whether you're new, Patreon member, YouTube backer. Thanks for having my back. Thanks for watching. I'm Jake Baldino. Botch the outro. Subscribe because video games. Pizza's on me. See ya.